everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome back to another episode of the Cyber Queens. We're so happy you're here with us. We are very excited for today's episode because we have a lady that we have long admired. We had her on Hacker and Heels as a monthly connection call mentor a while back. And I was like, please, before you leave, come on the Cyber Queens. That's what I do. I just corner people and ask them to come on Cyber Queens. And she said yes. So we're super excited. So we have the disruptor herself, Miss Mariana Padilla, here with us today. Welcome, Mariana. Please tell us about yourself.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me today. Truly appreciate it. Loved being able to, give some advice and input into the Hacker and Heels community, and always a huge supporter of women in this space. So thanks so much for having me on. Yes, I'm Mariana, co-founder and CEO of the HACKERverse. We're really working to disrupt the cybersecurity sales process, bring some more truth and truth. I guess what I'm trying to truth and clarity into the sales process with our automated demo marketplace and then World Hacker Games events. So that is what we do.
Woo! That is so exciting. I love everything you do. And big congrats to you because you just made it into a special Google cohort, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So my team and I got into the Google Growth Academy AI Cybersecurity program. So yes, thank you. Awesome opportunity to connect with other incredible cybersecurity companies, AI cybersecurity companies, really doing some incredible stuff in the space. So one of 17 teams from across Europe and the United States that just went to Germany for the kickoff for that last month.
I love that. Lady CEOs just killing it out there, just annihilating it. I love it. Congrats on your growth. Congrats on your milestones. Cheering on all your wins from the comments. I'm a big fangirl.
Yeah, that is
appreciate it.
Super impressive, Mariana. And so we are so excited to have you here today because I am certain that your success in getting that opportunity and achieving that milestone and being able to be part of something so impactful, I can imagine that a big part of it probably was just your incredible talent for networking that I've had the privilege to witness, to experience. I was one of your cold call coffee chats that you did. So I think you told our insiders community it was like 60, like some really large number.
Wait, who called who?
Mariana reached out to me.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes,
and she reached out to dozens of people to make connections and whatnot. And so just to really set the stage for this conversation today, I wanted to reference a study that was done by Chief in 2023. Chief is that huge membership community of executive women
CEOs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they basically, found out through this study that, networking not only plays a pivotal role in achieving, they say, nearly every career milestone, from securing a board seat to breaking into the C-suite, but also, it drives broader operational revenue and really benefits the organizations for their people to be involved in networking. So networking essentially is basically the thing that makes the world go round. It is what really helps people up level and achieve those highest positions and become CEO and, build their companies and bring in profits and all that kind of stuff. And I think we kind of do it a disservice because we're so stuck in this, stuffy kind of perception and image of what networking is, and contrast that to what you have really done for the brand of networking as an individual, and how you have gone out and really turned it on its head and have made some really bold moves that have netted you such an incredible opportunity, right? And so to kind of leap from there, let's let the myths die type thing. Let's just, I would love to hear what is one of those big networking myths that you wish would just disappear?
Die.
Okay, so I don't know if it's a myth, but I mean, I will tell you that I used to hate it. I hated it, and it was because I'm, maybe I didn't see the value in it. I think this surprises a lot of people, but I also consider myself to be an introvert, which I think people are like, no way, you're the one out there like busting into the groups and like, having discussions. And yes, I can totally do that, but within like 2 hours, I need to like have a break and sit in the corner and like silence and listen to like Tibetan, meditation bowls or something.
Same. Like I tell people I'm an introvert. I'm actually an MBTI introvert more than I am extrovert. Like I'll oscillate, but people are like, no freaking way. You like at the offsite, you were so fun and effervescent. I'm like, yeah, but then I went home and made no words out loud.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Like,
so, yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know if it's a myth, but I will say that I did used to really dislike it. And I think, part of it too is when you're just going to like general networking events, which, I was kind of just going to these events. I didn't really necessarily have a goal in mind other than meeting people. I was kind of like in a weird place in my career where I didn't really know what I was doing. This was before I joined HACKERverse, formerly known as Kicker, and was just kind of like figuring it out. And when you attend a lot of those more general events, I think my experience was what you find there, in some ways, like it's a meat market, which is gross. Like I'm not here to get hit on, like, whatever. B, there was always a financial planner group. Like someone there was a financial planner and they want to get your email address and they want to like plan your financials. I'm like, what finances? They're like, I don't have any finances for you to plan with at the time. Or you find like someone selling, like life insurance. It was just, it wasn't where I needed to be. So I don't know if it's a myth, but definitely like you need to find the right groups to be in. Like I think that's a thing. And then it's beyond networking. I guess this is a myth. People are just networking for like the purpose of their career or, like career advancement or whatever, breaking into the industry. And I think you're right. That does have like a stuffy connotation. So what I would say is that networking should just be about like forming human connections and like meeting people and like, just like in an authentic way. And that's, what I tell people when I reach out to do my virtual coffee is like, I'm not going to pitch you anything. I just want to hear about your story in the industry and get to know you like as a person. And so like, if you're getting stressed out about the idea of networking, reframe it and think about it as like just being a human and making human connections.
I find that like I get really good at it and it kind of goes into like the automated, I'm just having fun part of my brain when I don't have a goal, when there's not something I need. Like one time I went to RSA and I really wanted to track someone down and he knows who this is. I already told him this, but I was like, I'm going to track down John Hammond and find him. And, I got in front of him and he actually like just found me wandering through the aisles and I was like, oh my God, you're him. Hi. And like, I completely forgot everything I know about just like connecting with somebody. And on the opposite, I have tons of InfoSec friends and like the Black Hat floor was never a dull moment where I'm just like running into people I know and people are like, God, you make that look so easy. I'm like, it's not easy. And sometimes I kind of forget, I forget if I'm not just here to give value, I'm here to get something specific.
Right.
Like that definitely comes off in my approach.
Oh, 100%. And I think you're right. Like, approach it with a giving first mentality. I think that's super important. And sometimes, maybe it's a desperate situation and you're there and you need to ask for something. But, I think you should have already planted the seeds of like giving first. And then when it comes time to like need to ask for something, you have that network who you have given value to and provided value to. And, they're, open and willing to do that because you have been, transparent and helped them in the past.
This leads into a really interesting fact that I found when I was doing some research for this episode. And there was an HBR article about, just again, like networking myths and whatnot. And one of the studies or, surveys that was done as part of it talked about how there was a difference between how junior professionals felt about networking versus senior professionals. And so they said basically that like, junior professionals talked about how they kind of like, they felt kind of like sleazy about doing networking. They knew that they needed it to advance their careers. Meanwhile, the seniors were like, I have something of value So like I'm totally cool with like going and doing this. And there's that confidence of like, hey, like this isn't just about like, you know, me trying to use someone or manipulate someone or get someone to do something for me. This is like, I actually have something to give that people in the room could benefit from. And it just changes the entire dynamic.
I think that's when it changed for me too, because, you know, nowadays I go to a big con and like I feel at home at Black Hat at like InfoSec World, which are like 45,000 people. And I'm like, I'm just going to go see my peeps. We're all going to hang out. I get to see people I haven't seen in a year. You know, I'm just greeting friends. But when I was first going to even much smaller, more intimate cons, I was like, I'm the outlier. I'm not one of these people, and they can totally tell. And like, can I just walk up and tap someone and say, include me in your conversation? Is that weird? Like, you know, it's you feel like the odd man out, and that comfort kind of comes from the more you're in the industry and you interact with someone on LinkedIn. You can say, hey, we interact on LinkedIn. Like, this is me in real life. And that's a nice segue. But, you know, when you hated it, when it was something you did not embrace and like were naturally inclined introverts, how did you develop it? How did you get good at it? How did you embrace it into being something you can do even for a few days at a time before you have to go recharge?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, prior to joining HACKERverse was still kind of running my marketing agency on the side until we close our fundraising round, but a small business owner. And so it becomes a situation of, if you really believe in what you're doing, which I absolutely do, you have to have the network there to support you and to help that grow. So I think, you know, just being very, very tied to the vision of what I was doing really helped me get out of my comfort zone. Which was, you know, not going to events or just like standing there awkwardly. I have like a flashback of one event particularly where I was just like standing there in the corner, like looking at everyone.
No, you don't look at everyone. You look at your drink. You're like,
you look at your drink or you look at your phone, and it's just like, don't talk to me, please don't talk to me. Right. So then you've defeated the whole purpose of going to said event. Right. So I think it is when you have a vision for what you're doing and believe in the cause, it makes it easier to get out there and network. And then, coming into this space, which I wasn't native to cybersecurity, quickly learned that the old tricks simply don't work. And when I'm talking about tricks, like marketing tricks, like no one in this industry is opening up your cold email. Like, God forbid you send them some sort of spammy LinkedIn message, you're banned forever. Or if you call them, you're done. You're right. And when you burn bridges in the industry, like for how big of a space it is, it's small, and the word will get around that you're like a spammy person, right? So it just became very clear that in order to succeed, I needed really strong relationships, right? And so just started the virtual coffee. Actually, what happened was my fiance also a startup founder. So we're like startup founder squared life, which is sometimes fun and sometimes extremely stressful. But he started 100 meetings in 100 days campaign, and he tracked it in a spreadsheet. And so I was like, well, that's cool, because he was seeing some like great results for his business. I'm a huge believer that every door you open via networking opens another door, because you have access to that person's network now too, and then you meet someone through their network, and then you have access to that person's network.
Butterfly effect. It's just
exactly
exponential.
Yeah, exactly. So I was really inspired by that. Started the 100 days and then just like never stopped because I was seeing so many like positive results. And what I will say is, just like anything else, exercise or anything else you do in your life, it's a muscle that takes practice, and the more you do it, the better you will get at it, right? So it's gonna feel uncomfortable for sure when you first start, if you're not used to this. And like I said, I used to hate it, especially coming out of COVID, where I had hermited for 2.5 years, as we all had, or 2 years or whatever it was. Like, it was very uncomfortable, like being in large spaces with people, like physically uncomfortable, right? So you're not alone if you're feeling that way. And I would just say, like with anything else, it's just a muscle that needs training, and the more conversations you have, the better you will get at it, and recognizing like what your limitations are. Like with cons, like it is a huge extroverted commitment of like 4 days of this just like extreme extroversion, right? And like you said,
making yourself uncomfortable, just putting the worst you could do is completely suck at it, but the more you suck, the better you'll kind of get.
Right. I mean, and to be honest, you're with a group of 40,000 people who also may be introverts and not great at socializing.
So you believe that networking is a skill you can develop, even if you don't have it intrinsically, you can build up those muscles, like you said. And I think that's so important because it doesn't come naturally to any of us. In high school, I just started mine in high school. It didn't come naturally to me either. I just wanted to sink into the wall as far as possible and not be noticed by anybody. But I took theater, and theater really helped to bring me out of my shell and teach me that it's okay to look ridiculous and you can recover from social situations and things like that. So, if you know it's a skill you can develop, you're more likely to improve at it, work harder at it, prioritize it. Put yourself in that uncomfortableness until you get more comfortable, and then you'll see better returns than somebody else. So that's such a great insight. Thank you so much.
So one of the things that they always tell CEOs who have to do pitching, or anyone who does, pitching or, speaking, is that improv is like a great starting point. So if you're just like, I need something tangible to get started with, consider finding an improv class. If you're in the Chicago area, Jeremy Piven, who was on, Entourage. He was the lawyer from Entourage. Yeah. Has like a theater group, in the area, and they do improv classes. Yes. So, Jeremy Piven, the theater group, I think it's Piven Theater or something like that. That's a good one. Also, we're in Chicago, we have Second City. So that's another huge one. So I can give some local recommendations for improv. But that is a good place to start too.
Yes. These are a lot of like really fun and creative ways to kind of like build that networking muscle. But I'm curious to hear from you, because you have you are known for really challenging the status quo when it comes to networking. And you had mentioned just a little bit ago about how like the old tactics do not work anymore. Expecting people to open cold emails, it's not going to happen. So can you share with us a time when going against like that conventional networking wisdom paid off for you?
Going against conventional networking wisdom. I mean, I don't know if there's anything specific that comes to mind. I would say that I'm just like an inherently like ornery person. So if you like tell me I'm forced to do something, my immediate reaction is be like, well, why are you forcing me to do said thing?
But why? But why?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily, let me think. Conventional networking wisdom. I'm trying to think if anything specific comes to mind. If you had an example for me, that would help me better answer the question, because I'm not thinking of anything specific that's coming to mind other than, I just have always been someone who questions everything and hates stupid processes.
Okay, let's reframe. What about a time when you went against your natural inclination? Like if you've got the muscles and you've got the routine, you're like, I know how I'm going to get into this room and work these corners and find these people. But a time when maybe you're like, I have to do something that seems counterintuitive or seems counter to like what you should do, but it actually paid off. Like you're like, this started off really bad. Yeah. But we got there.
Yeah, kind of like too, like conventional networking says like you need to go to like 100 events or
got it.
Like stuff like that.
Yeah. Talk to everybody in the room about their dog or something.
Right.
But you did the opposite, and that really paid off for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think just being this is not a spray and pray approach, right? Like you may end up with some like some great people in your network, but they may not be able to like help you get to whatever it is you're trying to get to. Like networking with everyone and having a massive network. So saying I have 30,000 people in my network. To me, that kind of thing reminds me of people who bought social media followers, right? Like I have 50,000 Instagram followers. Like, okay, well, you bought those and half of them are bot accounts that don't like, what value does that provide to you? So I guess okay, so here we go. Here's my answer. Maybe having the world's biggest network doesn't actually get you what you need it to, right? So I would say have your group of allies. So Daniel Moses, watching this, shout out Daniel Moses, who is one of my LinkedIn fans who supports my content. We met in person. He's amazing, incredible. Really, really appreciate him and his allyship and everything that he's provided. And so you need to have a crew who will have your back. And so I was in a conversation recently, a networking event, and it was a VC talking about how you needed to have a whisper network. And I think I mentioned this on the call to you. I don't necessarily like the term whisper network, but you need to have people who will have your back when you're not in the room. So I would say that is the biggest thing. So when you're thinking about networking, you need to have your allies who will be supportive of you, who will be talking about you when you're not in the room, right? So whether that's your CEO who's looking for funding, you are a team leader who's looking to find their next role in cybersecurity, if you're a student who's looking to enter the space, if you're someone if you're looking for a mentor, like whatever it is, I would say that a strong and supportive network who really understand you and know you and as a human and support what you were doing is more important than having a gigantic, massive network that maybe, they're aware of you, vaguely of what you're doing, but you're not top of mind and you're not someone that they're talking about when you're not in the room.
Yeah, I can't count the number of times someone's come up to me and said, I hear good things about you from so-and-so who I really trust. I'm like, wow, thank you. That tells me that I'm doing good stuff. But, you're getting that feedback actively, which means you've got proof of it versus, no one's going to be like, we all trash talked you at the happy hour last night because we hate you. But, speaking of, so I feel like, we're all used to standing out. We have a common audaciousness to us three. We are all known for being pretty tenacious in our own rights. So what is one super audacious, proactive networking tip that the listeners could start using today at their next networking event this weekend?
Yeah. Well, I saw something in the comments about standing out, which I really appreciated. So glitter shoes for sure. If you come find me at RSA, I will be unmissable. I got some custom HACKERverse Air Force Ones, which are going to be badass, and I cannot wait to debut. Also, I have a custom HACKERverse jacket, which I am excited to show off as well. But it's like not running with the crowd, right? Not running with the herd. So you need to have a way of standing out, right? And so it just like with marketing, the whole purpose of marketing is to be able to help your brand stand out from the crowd and to be able to help differentiate what it is that you're doing. So if you think about yourself as a personal brand, how can you do that? So I think being willing to stand out sometimes in and of itself is an audacious act, right? Being willing to wear something absolutely ludicrous, what it is not necessarily an inherently comfortable thing, but oftentimes will lead to conversations and can be a great conversation starter, like the glitter shoes, or someone has like cool glasses. Like literally met someone on LinkedIn and we started a conversation because I was like, you have awesome glasses and we should talk, and we became super good friends from there. So I think that's one super tactical thing that you can do. I'm looking at the comments here. Competing in CTFs, yeah, absolutely. Building your personal brand and your professional portfolio, is often a good way to do that as well.
That leads in well too to like this idea of like, okay, so
glasses crew,
roll deep.
Glasses crew.
So, wardrobe and everything is certainly can be a bold and audacious tactic for drawing in attention and getting people curious and getting people talking with you, right? And so that makes perfect sense at a conference. When you are, not in person, and a lot of stuff these days, it is virtual, and you're trying to stand out online, like what are some ideas and strategies, especially when it comes to like, let's say you find yourself in a virtual event, in a virtual room with, someone who you really want to work with, and like you really want to make sure that your message is not lost in the sea of potentially dozens of other people also trying to reach out and message and make a connection with this person.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll just take it back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, which is just like the human connection piece of things. I'm way more likely to remember a conversation that I had with someone about, I don't know, favorite pizza, favorite dog shoes, like something totally random, versus work stuff. When you're able to build that like human to human connection and connect with someone on that level, I feel like I'm much more likely to remember that person and then say, hey, we had a great conversation about like absolutely nothing specific, but it was really, really enjoyable. This is someone who I want to be able to continue to work with. And so honestly, that's my advice for that. And I think it relieves some of the pressure too. So if you're like, oh my God, I need to tell someone my story, like my 10-second pitch, what is my pitch? I need my elevator pitch. And if you're someone who's a CEO or a venture capitalist or a mentor or someone who's high in the space, like how many times are you getting pitched? It even happens to me now. Like the number of pitches I receive, and I'm just like, you're not freaking memorable. Nothing about this is memorable. So sometimes it's even better just to not even lead with something work specific, but lead with something else. Glasses crew, again, shout out to the glasses crew. I mean, like just starting a conversation with someone about that. I think we're so averse to getting pitch slapped, which is like I love that term.
So many great phrases are coming out of this episode that I'm going to use in regular conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's not even about whatever it is your goal is, like from a professional perspective. And just, I'm repeating myself here, but often, releases some of the pressure too.
Definitely. I always say, some of the best conversations that I've had even at big conferences, and I have people again who want to do a lot of business like in a very short amount of time, and I'm like, like 90% of business conversations are like not about business, and at the end you're like, by the way, can I send you an email and we can like talk about this project? They're like, yeah, sure, but they just want to hear about your family and your interests 100%. And like what makes you like someone they'd want to work with on a daily basis. Stacey and I didn't have business conversations until we'd spent like 3 straight days together at SquadCon, just in each other's spheres. But speaking of getting cold pitched and getting pitch slapped, which I love, when it comes to the no's, so no's can be really tough to hear, especially because, you might be long networking, you might just be networking for fun, or you might have a goal in mind. But can you share a time when you networked with a goal and you turned a rejection into a positive outcome?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'm specifically thinking about some VC interactions here. When it comes to VCs, venture capital specifically, a no isn't always a final no, right? So, they're always raising more funds, they're opening new rounds, they're investing in the future. So, until someone specifically says, this is something I'm never going to be interested in, there's no further way to continue this conversation, right? Even if it's a no, our fund's not interested. I set my alarm for when I thought this podcast was. Sorry. But that person may know, if you're thinking about, in my case, like some vendors who might be interested in our platform, they might be willing to make CISO connections. Like, so how can you, if you have established a good relationship with that person, you've established trust with them, right? Because this is what it comes down to, is trust, right? And starting off with some sort of cold, business pitch doesn't establish trust. You need to trust the person that you're talking to. So if you've established trust with them, how can you leverage that trust to make further introductions that might be beneficial to you? So even if it's a no from that individual person, doesn't necessarily mean it's a no on other things, right? So yes, Justin, today's no can be tomorrow's yes. Absolutely.
I feel like there's always a way to make lemonade out of lemons, and sometimes it's getting creative. It's like, it's not always with the same person, but sometimes, I've gotten to know, like we've gotten no's as in seeking sponsors for certain events that we're having. And someone was like, that's not for us, but I have 3 friends with orgs that I think that would align with, and I'm happy to make introductions. We're like, anything that you think that you obviously think it's a worthy cause. So we would love those recommendations. So, you can always turn it into a net positive somehow, but having a resilient mindset is really key. I feel like it's so important for people and for ladies, especially, to know that when people tell you no, they're not telling you they hate you or your work. They're just saying, this might not be a good time. This might not align right now. We've had to say no to things, and it really breaks our hearts to do it, but we're only two people who can be so many places at once.
Right,
So,
right.
But there's another side of this too, though, right? Where that sometimes they're wrong. Like sometimes they just passed on a great opportunity. And especially when it comes to women's ideas and women, you know, going after those venture capital dollars, like sometimes it has nothing to do with you and the validity of your idea and what you've done and whatnot. It has everything to do with the other person. And so like, I just caution the idea of like, yes, there, you know, let's always try to find where the lessons are in the no and in that moment and in the feedback, but also recognize too that sometimes like when they give you a no, like there's nothing that you need to take from it besides just move on to the person who's going to give you a yes, because like you did great.
Yeah. I would also say that sometimes it's worth giving pushback. Like I will give pushback to VCs and I've gotten no's and I'm like, I don't really believe in the reason you said a no. Can you give me some more clarity on that? And you have to phrase it in a way that's not like WTF. right. But so it's like, well, okay, I'm hearing what you said there. I'm disagreeing with you for these reasons. Can you give me some additional feedback so that and this is what I specifically said 2 days ago. Can you give me some additional feedback so that I can potentially pitch this differently in future conversations and make it make sense to more people? So being open to feedback and showing that you have a growth mindset is huge, I think. For people wanting to engage with you and continue those conversations. So if you can show them that, you know, okay, all right, well, even if your mind, you're like, well, that's a bunch of hooey. If you can,
we'll take that under advisement. No.
Exactly. But you know, frame it as, you know, I'm interested to learn more, so I can potentially frame it differently in different conversations. And you know, it may be a situation, you know, I'm thinking particularly of myself where, you know, I'm pitching to so many people and you get so in the weeds and you're like, you tell the story so many times that it makes perfect sense in your brain. And then the other person's like, what? And you're like, what? I just explained it to you. And they're like, well, no, you didn't. Right. So I think that, you know, sometimes it's definitely worth listening to that feedback. Other times it may not be, but showing you have a growth mindset, I think is important either way.
You know, I love Stacey's spicy takes. I'm going to come in with another one. It's good that you said that because we've received feedback where we're like, it was objective. It was well outlined. We're like, thank you. You know, we obviously didn't clarify this enough. We're happy to make that change. But if people just come back at you and they're like, make these changes for us because we just think you're doing this wrong. And we're not even coming at you with like the structure of your plan. We're just coming at you with your branding and your approach. You can be like, okay, I recognize that this might not be for you, but I'm going to continue with the branding and the approach that I've got because I feel strong in my values and in the thing that I outline. So take
and honestly, and honestly, your branding should be polarizing. I know that's not a like.
That just scared me. I was like, what?
Yeah, absolutely.
Be friends with everybody?
No, I'm with Mariana. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Yeah, like so the whole purpose of having a strong brand is to have people like differentiate themselves before you even have to make the outreach to them. So if they hate everything you're doing, fine, they're not your tribe, but don't go after them. It just saved you how many hours of prospecting if they're like, no, that's not for me. Cool.
You two ladies teach me something every day because Stacey's like, what if we did this? And I'm like, and she lets my face go blank for a minute and then she lets it recede. And she's like, now that you've sat with it, what do you think? Is it a scary? And I'm like, still scary. Yeah.
And then I have to reassure that like nothing bad's going to happen. And in fact, a bunch of good things will come from it, right? We 100%. Won't be wasting our time on people who don't value us, people who don't respect us, people who aren't bought into our mission. Why do I want to go sell to someone who doesn't want what I have to give? Exactly. Like I want to go find the people who want what we have. And it's proven that through this podcast, through Hacker and Heels, through everything that we're doing, that there are plenty of people out there who absolutely want exactly what we have to sell.
Right.
So.
Well, and I think as women, we're trained to be like likable and nice and all those like values, proper little ladies.
Damn it! I'm a product of my programming. I quit.
You are a product of the patriarchal programming. We're going to do some deprogramming here today, Cyber Queens. So I mean, that was one of the first lessons I learned when I launched my marketing agency. I was like, we do social media marketing and, content marketing for the people. And it's like, well, if you are for everyone, then you are for no one. That's like the thing that I think. And when it was like, I got out from behind my brand, Red Lab Marketing, and became Mariana of Red Lab Marketing. And here are my values. And I believe in equity and inclusion and women's rights and sustainability and all of these things. That's when I started to be super successful in finding the people who are like, I really like everything you're doing. So think about it as like a magnet. And also, you know, on the other side of the magnet, you have the repelling side. So like you want to get rid of the people who don't value what you're doing and attract the people who do, and save yourself a whole bunch of time in the process.
Well, I'm going to hyperventilate, but then I'm going to do that tomorrow. Growth is not always comfortable, people. I don't have, I have a lot of it figured out, but I don't have it completely optimized. And I still got to improve and iterate every day. It's a constantly ongoing learning process.
Well, I'm also curious too, like there's kind of like a push and a pull or give and a take in that. On one hand, we're talking about like, hey, don't listen to everybody who has feedback for you and whatnot, and like do lead with your values and whatnot. But then on the other side of things, it's kind of like then we start to get into the whole territory of like, well, what if we end up only connecting with people who look like us, speak like us, sound, do the same work that we do, whatever it is, have the same approaches, right? Now we get into this like complacency of homogenous grouping, right? And so like, how do we balance the those two sides, right? The side of like making sure that we're clear about who we are and what we stand for, but also like
diversify
and like be intentional about broadening our networks, because there's plenty of research out there that shows that like first off, if we're not intentional, we are just going to fall into just trying to like and follow and go with people that look like us, and it deprives us of just these diverse perspectives that we need to be able to like understand the world around us, to make good decisions, to ultimately attract and potentially bring in people who are different from us, get their interest in the thing that we're building or selling or whatnot.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's something to be said there for that, for sure. Absolutely. And the book Radical Candor, I think talks a lot about this in terms of like being willing to have open, honest, transparent, challenging conversations. And so maybe that's a business core value and you invite those, but there's a difference between radical candor and someone who's saying, I don't believe women belong in the workplace. Like we're not even going to have that conversation with you.
I'm not dignifying that with a response. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Not.
So I
manage your energy. That's not worth it.
Right. Like finding what is the line between radical candor and being open to challenging viewpoints, and the challenging viewpoints just being like, I don't believe in gender equity. Right. So I don't know if I have a distinct conversation with that. I would say there are some things that are worth engaging in. Right. And I think, sales tactics or like marketing tactics or like sleazy marketing tactics, or is this a sleazy marketing tactic, or like whatever those conversations are. But there are like some things that are just like line in the sand. Like, I don't believe in LGBTQ rights. Okay, cool. Like, I'm not engaging in this conversation with you anymore. Like, this is like a core value of mine. And if you don't believe that people should be equal to each other, then okay, like go about your way. You're not part of my universe anymore, because I don't want that negative energy to enter into my universe. So
yeah, you say that to me, you just fell off the face of my planet. Like, you don't even exist on my plane of existence anymore to me.
There's a difference between like values and, interests. And then there's like ethics and human rights. And so like, like we can filter a little bit on, and broaden our understanding and experiences around people's like values and stuff like that. But when we start crossing into the human rights territory of things, then like, absolutely be selective.
Right. Yeah. You need to know and be strong with your core values. And then there's some things that are just like non-negotiable, and some things that, you're willing to debate on, and other things that you aren't. So for sure. I hear you on that. And worth bringing up for sure.
Yeah. All right. Before we move into final takeaways and we wrap up the episode, because this has been so fun, but we are trying to be better about our length. I just want to ask one final thing. So the give and take of networking, let's say you actually get the lasting relationship and now it's come time to talk about collabs or projects or like that end goal. You're like, I don't know what I'm going to make with you. I just want to make something with you because we're aligned on so much. Like,
Yeah.
how do you balance what you're asking for with what you're offering?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, building a business, I'm very much like focused on the needle movers constantly. So what are the things that are going to make the biggest difference in moving my business forward? Because as I'm sure you guys know, there's a constant never ending list of things that need to be done. And you have to be very wary of the shiny object syndrome, as I call it. And especially, you're like, oh, we can do this amazing thing. And it could be the thing that like generates the biggest business results. And then you really have to be wary of getting sidetracked and just double down on the things. Like I said, the needle movers, I love that term, like what's going to make the biggest impact in my business. And that's the thing you focus on. And so when you are making those asks, being strategic, you aren't asking, focusing on those extraneous things maybe. And you're asking, like, for instance, like we have a WeFunder campaign now open. And so now I was able to, ask some of those folks who had been in virtual coffee with me, hey, do you want to like consider, investing in our business via WeFunder? And I felt comfortable making me ask for money, which often is the hardest, especially as women. Like we have a really hard time asking for money, but it's okay. Men do it all the time and they don't feel weird about it. So stop feeling weird about asking for money.
I don't ask for the money. Stacey asks for the money because I still don't feel good. Stacey's like, stop giving everything away for free. I'm like, do I have to do that?
I pitched something in the comments the other day. I remember someone was talking about like International Women's Day and the whole like, oh, why don't we have something for men? And I was like, well, for $10,000, I will come to your company and run an International Men's Day event for you. Like every opportunity is an opportunity to pitch for money.
Right, there we go. So but I would say you obviously don't want to take too much advantage. Like you've worked hard to build those relationships. So just make sure that it's something that you think will lead to a positive outcome, and don't be the person that's over asking. I don't know what the line there is. That's something that you're going to have to determine for yourself. But yes, that would be what I would say is like the things that are going to make the biggest impact in your business or in your professional career or whatever it is.
And is it beneficial to focus on one ask at a time amongst your 100%? Network? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. If you don't, you're going to cause confusion.
Nice. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Do you want the whole menu? We're like, so what do you want? What's the most important? Like, because people might not be able to do everything with you. So they're going to be like, what is the most targeted and important thing you want my time and attention on? And can I meet you there? Like,
I know we're running short on time, but if you have the opportunity to read Pitch Anything, there are some problematic aspects of the book in that everyone he assumes is pitching is male. But he does have it's a he pronoun and everything, which annoyed me, but he does have some very important insights on the amount of information that is retained by the human brain. And he talked about like the crack brain, the crocodilian brain, and just like the amount of things that we remember. And so when you're pitching, you have to be able to leverage the emotion and also be able to help people remember things. And so the thing is, and this is why pitch decks that have a billion pieces of information on them don't work, is because it's too much. People they're not interested, that you've lost them immediately. So you just have to thinking about psychology in the human brain when you're asking and when you're telling people. It has to be simple, and it has to be, just like one or two things. Like if you're asking for too much, people aren't going to remember, or they're going to tune it out and be confused.
Definitely. I know that my brain is running 12 different directions and I can only remember like 3 things at a time, which is why I write everything down. If it's not written down, it's not happening.
Or it's not on the calendar, it's not happening.
Nope. I have to book out time to like work on this deck or like read this thing or go back and find this article or whatever. Mariana, I just want to say thank you so much for all of the incredible pieces of advice. my brain chemistry changed several times today. So it's been really inspiring. Thank you so much for coming to give us, your audacious take and helping to deprogram all the fellow women and listeners out there. We even got several great book recs out of it, which I love. I love a good book. So thank you so much just for spending your Friday with us. We so appreciate you.
Of course. Oh my gosh, this was great. I hope everyone got something out of it. I will be unmissable at RSA. Come find me. Also, if you want to do virtual coffee, I'm always open for those.
Do you still have a link for that or something? Well, if she does, we'll drop it in the comments. We'll find it. We'll find it and get it added somewhere. And I agree about sparkly shoes. My final takeaway will be sparkly shoes because I'm known for wearing Betsy Johnson's to a lot of events.
Oh my God, I love her. Sidebar.
They stand out like a mile away. People are like, where are the sparkly shoes today? I'm like, oh, they're here. They're here. They'll come out tomorrow. You'll see them. So, I have had people walk up to me if I wear something really loud, like a spray painted blazer that I have, and be like, that's a cool blazer. One of my closest friends now, Joe Hall, he was like, I just thought I should come talk to you because you like a good blazer and I like a good blazer.
Good blazer.
And absolutely. I'm like, there we go. So don't be afraid to stand out. You might find someone in your tribe approaches you that you never would have thought of before, and that they can be your friendly extroverted friend and introduce you to all the fun people. So
for sure.
That will be my takeaway.
Yeah, awesome. I would say definitely people are hungry for something different, something creative, something interested. And so whenever you can be that for someone, it can go a long way in forming a relationship and at least, giving you something to talk about that can lead you there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Marianne, you want to bring us home with any last tidbits of genius you'd like to leave the audience with?
I mean, no, just connect with me. If you'll be at RSA, I will see you there. Check out the HACKERverse. We're doing cool shit. Don't pitch slap people in LinkedIn.
Don't pitch slap, or we will come find you pitches.
We're going to be the pitch.
There's an Anna Kendrick joke to be made in here somewhere.
Something pitch perfect.
Make your pitch perfect. Don't be pitches. Anyway, this has been so fun. Thank you again, everybody, for spending your Friday with us. We so love to have you with us every week. Thank you so much for all your wonderful comments and engagement today. This was a fabulous episode. Fabulous day on the Cyber Queens. You can catch us again next week. We will be live. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. It's the #1 way you can support us, and we super appreciate it. Other than that, we will see you all next week. Have a wonderful weekend.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye all.